feeling like everything about me was different. Grew up feeling that I was different because of the way that I looked. I was different because of the way that I spoke. I was different because of the way that my hair looked. I was different because of my features. I felt different every single day as a child, and that contributed to me feeling like I truly didn't belong. Let me paint a picture for you. When I was born, my mom told me this story. She said that my grandmother, when she first held me in the hospital, said, "This is the darkest baby I ever held in my life." That was my introduction to the world, that I was different from my entire family. And this is true. For a long time, I felt like a black bean in chickpeas. Think about that image for a minute, like a black bean in chickpeas. I was the darkest person on my mother's side of the family. My father's side is different. I look like my father's side of the family, but for a long time, I only had a relationship with my mother's side of the family. So I started to feel a little bit isolated and I feel a little bit like I didn't belong. On top of that, as a child, I don't know why, I don't know at what point, but my parents decided from maybe my elementary school age, maybe even preschool age, like a 4 or 5, to all the way until I was in 6th grade, that I would wear my hair short. And because I would wear my hair short, the most common question that I was asked every single day growing up as a child, from preschool to the end of elementary school in 5th grade, was, "Are you a boy or are you a girl? Are you a boy or are you a girl?" And I was asked that every single day. And it started to eat away at me because it made me feel like I was really different. It made me feel like I didn't belong. And when you have those sorts of experiences, when you are made to feel that you don't belong, you start to feel a little bit isolated, a little bit disconnected. And you start to create your own world to try to soothe that feeling of feeling different. How many of you watching this can identify with feeling different, feeling like you don't belong? So you know what I did? When I was 12 years old, I asked my mom, because I had started growing my hair out in 6th grade, I asked my mom if I could get a perm. I don't actually know if I asked her. I think she may have also talked to me about it. And so she took me to the straightening hair experts. And in New York City, if you want to have that hair straight and laid, honey, you go to the Dominican hair salon. And so I went to the Dominican hair salon and I got my first perm. And I finally, when I walked into school that day, I finally felt like I belonged. I finally felt like I looked like the other girls. I finally felt like I could blend in. It's because I changed my hair and I could wear it straight. I felt like people could understand me now. People could know that I was a girl. But the truth is, I still didn't feel free. I still didn't feel like myself. And trying to fit in and trying to belong and trying to be like other people, I felt less like myself, less than myself. And I think that's what happens to us as a society as a whole. When we start to feel ostracized, when we start to feel that we are different from other people, we take solace in that difference. And we find others who have also felt different. And we use that difference to become the story of our lives. For a long time, I used labels, things that made me feel different, to define who I was, to define my entire self, my entire life. When you grow up, You know, as a child, you don't have that many choices. You don't have that many choices of what you wear, what you eat, what you do for your main activities, where you go to school, where you live. None of those things are your choice when you're a child. But when you're a child is when you start forming major habits. And honey, when you start forming those major habits, you carry those things, whether you're conscious of it or not. You carry those habits into your adulthood. And they shape and frame the way that you go about the world and the people that you interact with, the relationships that you form, the friendships that you form, the jobs that you have, your own personal feelings about yourself. And so for a long time, I operated under what I would call those limited beliefs. You know, your teachers, your parents, your family, your friends, your experiences in society tell you limited beliefs about who you are and where you belong. You learn who your kind of people are and who your kind of people are not. You learn where you fit in and where you do not. I remember being judged a lot as a kid. I was in honors classes and I was the only Black person in those honors classes. And so a lot of the other Black girls that went to school with me who may not have been in those classes would say things like, she thinks she's better than everybody else. She thinks she's too good for us. She talks like a white girl. What did I do? I internalized that because I felt like, you know what, they're right. I don't belong with them. I don't belong anywhere. And when you start to feel like that, it is my personal opinion, and that's what leads to depression, anxiety, and even suicide. When we focus on where we don't belong, when we focus on what makes us feel different, when we focus on who we are not, I think that's where a lot of complications and problems come into play. America is a healing nation. There is so much at stake in our lives. There are so many things that separate us because of our past experiences, because of our ancestors' trauma, that it's super, super challenging to piece together where we belong. But today I want to challenge you to think about these questions. How do you define the word belonging? Where do you feel like you belong? Where do you feel like you don't belong? And why is that in your life? And the last thing I want you to think about is, how have you played a role in making other people feel that they belong? Because when you start to think about those questions, you can start to understand who you really are. It's not what separates us. It's what brings us all together. That's what community is all about. We focus a lot on our differences, but it's a lot about what's our similarities, what's our community, what unites us as human beings. We started out in clans and tribes. As technology has grown, we've separated. So today, I want you to think about belonging. And I want you to think about what role you can play in helping to build community. You can change your life because you can embrace the beauty of your differences, but also the beauty of what makes you similar to other people. You belong here. You belong here. You can change your life because you can embrace the totality of who you are and accept others. Remember, no matter if you're in a boardroom or a beach party, you belong there. You were brought there by the universe for a reason. Have a beautiful day. Remember, it all starts with you. And thank you so much for listening.